So stage 11 now, 199 kilometres to Cesena, as we start our journey north really now towards the Dolomites and the Alps, and the last final week of the Giro d'Italia, which will be of course very significant this year. But at the moment it's been a story of a champion in Finland and Laurent Mangel. That was the situation. They are clear now, as you can see. This is the sprint here. And the weather, the good roads have been a beautiful racing route this without the bad weather, but they've got to be careful on the way down.
Well, in fact, just looking here, this is a little bit of pressure being put on by Team LPR here on the front end. Looking back there to see what sort of damage is being done. In fact, I have a feeling we've got a little bit of a split going on. These are the chasers in Segutori, and LPR are certainly all over the front of this. It's obviously been a very nasty climb.
Well, it's also a very nasty day, and the riders now are going to try and nibble a little bit more off the lead here of Visconti before they get up north. And LPR, this is a good day for the killer, and I think Danilo De Luca will enjoy this as best he can. He's in second place there. Memory of Marco Pantani as the gap continues to count. No sign of this weather abating at all.
Not at all. A nasty day. 4 minutes and 25 seconds and counting, and they've still got to get to the top of this climb. Yep. At which point we'll get a definite identification on what the advantage of those 4 leaders is. 5 leaders. I think I just noticed Alberto Contador in the group. A little bit of picture breakup as we go through the trees and the rain. It's always very difficult on a day like this to keep the pictures nice and steady. As they get to the top of the climb, it's going to be pretty close, Phil, to around about the 5-minute mark.
Oh, that's a very good breakaway. And on weather like this, it might go all the way to the finish, because these boys will just keep an eye on themselves. Just on 5 minutes to the summit there, just over 5 minutes. Danilo De Luca zipping up his black cape. We are hearing, in fact, a Maurizio Sola, and we haven't seen him. Verti had that crash very early on and took away all hope. Has apparently abandoned the race. So I'm not surprised. I think there'll be a few go out today.
A nasty day, and if you've got a slight injury when you are on the bike in a day like this, it really is very difficult to pluck up the courage sometimes to continue. And I think Maurizio Soler, the star of the Tour de France last year, Phil, will be thinking about getting himself ready for the month of July. And I believe he's really been pained by an injury to his wrist. Yep. And that seems to be the problem, although he did bang up his knee quite badly as well in that crash in the first week.
Well, all the action started pretty early on today at around about 35 kilometres. The breakaway settling down and getting clear. Pablo Rastas, Laurent Mangel, Tiziano Dell'Antonio, Jussi Verkonen, Alessandro Bertolini. The peloton sort of let them go. They didn't really chase them, although the average speed, despite the weather, as we get in the way of the descent, is around about 42 kilometres an hour. So it was quite a quick start despite the conditions.
Well, that was Danilo De Luca in person setting them on the descent. Not too far away from the front, Andreas Kloden was there, and also Alberto Contador. But there has been a split in the main field, although, Phil, I think with these weather conditions, we'll see quite a few riders making the junction on the descent.
Well, I can't see this breakaway being brought back, you know, Paul, simply because there's nobody in it that affects the overall leaderboard. And so why on a day like this take any risk at all, providing you're alongside your rivals?
That's the important thing. As I keep saying, it is important to look over the 3 weeks of a race like this. We've got 3 or 4 very difficult days to come, but to me the hardest part of the Giro d'Italia is the last 4 or 5 days, when we've got some massive mountains in the Dolomites and in the Alps.
And Sella will be losing out on his King of the Mountains scores today. Look at that, the group Magliarosa at 7:18, the chasing group at 5:05. So it looks as though Visconti is set to lose perhaps as high as 4, maybe even 5 minutes if that group settles in. So there is a reason for them to chase now and get rid of Visconti.
Looking at the leading group there, that's the leading group of 5 riders. Mangel, Pablo Lastras is a good man to think about getting the victory. Dell'Antonio, Verkonen is in there as close eye on him. De Luca was the man who came straight across there, and the group has split down to around about 25-30 riders. 3.5 kilometres to go to the finish. Lastras, he must now be thinking about how he's going to outfox these 2 riders with him.
Well, they're not waiting for anybody now. They're getting on with the job in hand now. And Bertolini seems to be doing the lion's share of the pacemaking. Because again, as he takes to the free wheel, just a dangerous corner coming up. Happily, the heavy rains of this morning gone away. Chance to keep the rhythm going on this nice long sweeping descent here. Plenty of speed required. There's the peloton. Now they look to me as though they're not far away, because they're on very similar to... at last we get it. They're saying it's 4 minutes to the group Magliarosa, so he is in there, and it's 4 minutes the spread to the leaders. Well, that should be enough to give them the victory, but there won't be a huge time gain now, and the Magliarosa isn't losing time.
Well, they're battling there at the front end of the group of contenders, but this is the group now with 30 seconds over Dall'Antonio. Lastras, you know, Phil, he's won a stage in the Giro before. He's won stages in the Vuelta a España, and about 4 or 5 years ago he won himself a stage in the Tour de France, so he must be now starting to think that this is an ideal situation for him. Very canny rider, and he's got the acceleration to get the victory here this afternoon. The only difficult thing for him, though, is he's up against 2 Italians.
Yes, and they both want to win. That might be an advantage, you know, because they both want to win, so they're not going to help each other. And this is where they're starting now to discuss the whole situation, and this is where Dall'Antonio could come racing back into the scene. They're wondering where he is. He's not very far away. The peloton is at 4 minutes, as we saw. They'll be gaining now, but they won't gain that much.
This is all getting very tricky now, as everyone's starting to tighten up their shoes to make sure that they're ready for the big explosion once they see that finishing straight. Lastras is being very tactical here, moving into 3rd position, keeping a very close eye. And there's a move. No, it's not. A little tricky pretend move there by Pablo Lastras. He wanted to catch them unawares, but he knew they'd even heard the sound of the tyres accelerating.
Well, but they're all now trying to get the advantage of the back, and they're slowing down in the process. And they're going to run up towards the finishing line here, and somebody will take a flyer quite a way out, I would think, and relieve all the tension. I think the fastest sprinter should be Bertolini. Fortunato Ballerini, he's not a bad sprinter for a climber, but he's not a great one either. Lastras, I simply don't know. I think he'd have to go for the win on his own.
Yeah, I think I'm still putting my money on Pablo Lastras, because he's a very talented bike rider. He's won from groups like this in the past after a long breakaway, and in all of the Grand Tours. He's got a stage victory in all 3 Grand Tours. I think he'd like to add to the stage victory he got in the Giro many years ago.
Oof, a bit of a dicey old left-hander there on the cobblestones. Tight. Round again here. Oh, and a touch of wheels, and I think he hit something in the road like a hole. There was a missing cobblestone there, I'm sure of it. Well, that's the end of Ballerini now, and Bertolini heard it. That spoilt the prediction of Paul Schoen, because poor old Lastras was balked, and Bertolini, who's almost 37 years of age, is running away to his first ever victory in a stage of the Giro d'Italia. He's like a scalded cat now, and I don't blame him, because once he heard the crash of the metal, and I'm sure we'll see that shot again, Bertolini has gone clear for the victory.
Well, I really don't know what happened there, but Pablo Lastras was actually, for me, in the ideal position. He was very lucky to avoid that crash, and Bertolini, he took advantage of that and opened up a gap very quickly. Looks over his shoulder for confirmation. 100 metres to go. He's not going to get caught.
No, this is going to be a very appreciative victory salute here for Bertolini, because he can't believe the way it dropped in his lap. Well, good luck to him. He'd done most of the work in the closing kilometres. Bad luck for Lastras. He gets second. Well, I just hope, and he has, he's got back up, so he will get third anyway, Ballerini. But I'd like to see that way that crash happened again.
Well, he was going over a cobbled section of road, and it could well have been that there was a cobble missing or something, but he went down very quickly and very hard. He had no chance at all of controlling that accident.
He was lucky he didn't break something there. I thought I saw a black hole in the road. To me, it would be a missing stone, but we'll see if we can show you that again.
The only time I've ever seen a black hole, it was in space.
That's true. Well, Bertolini's got the win. 5 3/4 hours in the saddle today. His first ever win at almost 37 years of age. Here's the remnants of the breakaway.
Dall'Antonio just coming in for 4th place. Here's the rider from Française des Jeux, Jussi Väikönen. They're going to get 5th and 6th on the day. I think we'll have to wait quite a bit of time before the main field comes in.
Laurent Mangel sitting on his wheel. I bet he'll have a go at the sprint, because this will be his finest ever finish on the stage of the Giro too. It was quite a narrow finish this, so it's just as well there was a breakaway today. I wouldn't have liked to have seen the whole peloton make this approach.
Certainly not. I don't really want to see the whole peloton coming around that corner in a few moments' time either.
Back onto the cobbles again. It looks as though Väikönen is going to have a run for it, but it looks as though Mangel is also going to try and take it off him. He's gone to the front now. Tall, gangly man.
Pretty good crowd turned out here to see this stage
nice.
of the
They're not
Giro.
seeing much though, because they keep going around corners. Well, there we are, but across the line, and Mangel gets it over Vakenham for 5th and 6th. Alessandro Bertolini is the winner, and what we all want to see is that slow motion shot again. Here comes the peloton, 3 minutes 25 and counting. So big time gains again, but not really significant on this occasion. And the pink jersey has had his downs as well as his ups in this stage, is in this group.
Well, the Ciclamina jersey's at the front there, followed by Eric Zabel, and even though it's only for 7th place, the sprinters still have to go for it on every day to get points.
And Zabel gritting his teeth there. He's still well up in the points competition, but it looks as though Bernardi is going to finish this off and gain another 2nd place for Eric Zabel.
It was a Lorenzetto from Lampre getting across the line just